Yo, partnership alert, partnership alert, partnership alert. Living Corporate has a partnership with LinkedIn Learning, an American massive open online course provider that provides video courses taught by industry experts across a wide array of subjects. Now, the partnership is because Living Corporate has courses on LinkedIn Learning focused on diversity, equity, inclusion for leaders, career professionals, and anyone really looking to upskill themselves and be better allies. So make sure you check out our courses on LinkedIn Learning by clicking the link in the show notes. And let's just say you don't want to do that. When you go to LinkedIn Learning on LinkedIn, search Living Corporate. We'll be right there. All right. Peace.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Break Room Season 2. We are super glad to have you back. My name is Brian Dixon. I'm a child and adolescent psychiatrist in Fort Worth, Texas, where I help people live their best lives. And I am joined again today on the podcast with my awesome co-hosts. Let's start with Dr. Nikki.
Hello, everybody. Brian, you should be the anchor person because I was like, Brian has such a podcasty voice. Like you could have done radio. It's the voice, man. It's good. So yes, thank you always for getting us started off right. I am Dr. Nikki Coleman. I am a licensed psychologist here in the state of Texas, janky adjacent state of Texas. And I have a small practice here called Dr. Nikki Knows where I do therapy, with Black women around relational and sexual wellness. And I also do racial equity training with small to mid-sized corporations and organizations.
Awesome. And then Dr. Jide, bring us home, man.
Hey. I agree. You do have a golden voice. So,
well, thank you.
You have other careers if you're ever tired of becoming a psychiatrist, if you're tired of doing that, So I'm Dr. Jide Bamishigbin. I'm an assistant professor of psychology at California State University, Long Beach, and a health psychologist. And I'm also a father to two wonderful boys, and I have a great wife. So I'm excited to be here today.
Excellent, y'all. So as always, we're super glad to have y'all on the podcast. Make sure that if you have questions or thoughts or feedback, always send those over to the break room at living-corporate.com because we'd love to hear from you. This season is all about what you're doing individually. And so last season, big concepts, social concepts. This time we're really trying to distill it down and get to the nitty gritties. And so today's podcast is all about holiday stress, managing your Black family. Okay.
Capital B.
Capital B. And so as always, when we do our podcast, we always start off with the T and then we walk through some topics where hopefully you're going to learn something about psychology and counseling and therapy and that sort of thing. And then we always bring it home with the last nerve. And so when it comes to the T for today, so Dr. Nikki, who has the T? Is it you today?
I think I'll introduce it and Dr. Nikki will talk about it.
Okay, good. Go for it, Dr. Jide.
So on this day that we're, recording this, Facebook and Instagram are down. Okay. Womp, womp. They are down and not working. And I think that's had an effect on some people. Like Dr. Nikki was talking about it. So let's talk about it. Yeah, please.
Oh my goodness. So the kids were not okay earlier today. Let me just say that when I went on, so full transparency, in trying to run a small service oriented practice in this day and age, social media is one of the best free platforms for advertising and marketing. And so I use my Instagram platform for that. Right. And I'm really getting into it. I'm a brand new company. I'm 1-year-old LLC, 4 months of full time. Right. So it's really pivotal to me. And I have been saying in my mind, I need to build my newsletter. I need to build my email directory because I need other things. And then I was sitting there today and I was like, I'm not getting any feedback on my posts for today because I know what time they roll out. And then I went and looked and it was couldn't refresh feed. And I was like, what you mean you can't refresh my feed? What? And then I'm looking I don't see my new post. And I generate the content, but I have someone that works for me. Shout out to Gabby Cantu, who creates my posts. Yes. And so I was about to be like, Gabby, where's the post for today? I was in a full on tizzy. And then I reached out to people is Instagram down? Is Instagram down? And then so finally I Google And there it is, Instagram and Facebook and WhatsApp.
And WhatsApp.
And
Yep.
WhatsApp. Less relevant to me, but I get it. Like, it's a great way to keep in touch internationally on, free. But they were all out, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And then but it caused me, because I pride myself on being self-reflective. So then I tried to pivot and think, okay, what's the lesson learned here, right? Like, why out in the way that it did? I have been intentionally trying to pull myself out of Facebook more. I use Facebook primarily for like personal stuff, and it just has been a time suck and like brain drain. So I've been more intentional about that, but like that feeling of like, what is this phone good for? I don't like what am I going to use it for? Yeah. So it was a moment of insight for me, a moment of discomfort for sure. And my friends gave me some good teasing about it. Sent me all the like Twitter and TikTok things that came out, like clowning the folks.
I'm a Twitter guy, so I love it. we've been roasting y'all all day.
All day long.
All day.
Yeah, it's.
I'm gonna be real honest here. I'm gonna let you go, Brian, but I don't understand Twitter. Like, I don't feel like I don't get it. So I don't understand.
Twitter is instant dopamine surge. Like, you can scroll.
Not for me. It's instant confusion surge. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Like, somebody replied to us. They say, look at y'all. And I was like, look at us what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know the context ever. It always feels like a conversation in midstream. Like, I'm always like, what?
And you're right. To me, Twitter's very much like breaking news. So there's this voyeuristic aspect. And I find myself doom scrolling, which is where you keep looking for bad shit to happen, right?
That's the one.
And, yeah. And so for me, Twitter is very much kind of that voyeuristic. Oh, let me see it first so I can say that I had it first. And then I have to come to Jesus with myself and be like, wait a minute, it's not that important. Like, calm down. Damn. Really? Whew. So real quick though, I want to ask Dr. Jide this, because he's our research guy, y'all. So I don't do research and p-values and all this. And if you don't know what that means, look it up. But I've been reading more and hearing more about the research behind Instagram and how like deadly this thing is.
Yes.
Instagram is deadly? How? Wait,
Instagram and Facebook. So there's this idea that psychology is not a real science. Okay. There are people who feel that way, but let me tell you something. Go ahead and quit social media. If anything will show you that psychology is a real science, it's that, because within 2 days, you'll be back on whatever your platform is. Listen, probably you check your phone probably the first thing when you wake up. You roll over, you grab your phone, check it. That's all researchers who figured out, okay, this is how we get you, right? So they know they're constantly doing research, constantly doing research. And researchers come out. They know the negative effect that Instagram has had, particularly on adolescent girls. Okay, it's had a very negative effect because of the filters. You know, we live in a plastic surgery culture, which is a whole different, topic and conversation for another day, and how that affects particularly young women. It affects everybody, but particularly young women and young women of color, right? They've known this, and they've known this for a while. Okay, so recently a whistleblower came out because she released documents to Wall Street Journal about the fact that they've done these studies and they know that Facebook and Instagram are harmful. And they're like, shrug, don't care. Let's keep going, because it's all about the money.
I was going to say, but are we making money though?
It's all about the money.
We'll keep going. Yeah.
It's all about the money and power. Yeah. It's very sad. It's very sad.
It's sad. And as a parent of a girl, it is disturbing. Like, so we could do a whole episode on this, and maybe we should for season 3, but
we should.
But my daughter, my daughter's biracial, bi-ethnic. Her father's Mexican American. And so she has a lighter skin color. So I already know the colorism stuff is going to come, because before I talked to her about colorism, it was coming in from first, like kindergarten. Mama, do you know what this skin color means? And I was like, well, it means I'm mixed. You never heard me say that word in this house, right? So she's got that going for her. I know the body image stuff is going for her, and she wants a phone. And like, you're just 10. What you gonna do with a phone? Like, who you calling is what I keep asking her. And so she doesn't have a good answer for that, which means she wants to get on TikTok. She wants to get on Instagram. And I refuse it, because I get inherently there's a danger there. And I don't have the time or energy to like police it all. Right? So there would be a lot to slip through the radar and she's going to be targeted. I know that. I mean, I personally have fallen for 2 Instagram ads too many. I'm just like, oh, this ain't what I thought I was.
I mean, and you know, Facebook and Instagram are just parts of our internet, you know, world, right? So one, Facebook and Instagram, this is just talking about the body image and stuff. We're not even talking about the political stuff and the anti-vax and the whatever, all the other stuff. But even outside of that, within the broader internet ecosystem, listen, if you search for some shoes one time, those shoes are going to stalk you on your phone, on your iPad, on your laptop, on your television until you buy it.
Yep. 100%. 100%.
Let me tell y'all what I'm about to buy, and then we can pivot because we can pivot. There's these little new, I'm going to call them cooking systems. I don't know the actual name for it, but it's like it's a countertop device. And what the internet tells me is I just put my food in there and then a gorgeous meal comes out when I set the timer. Like my vegetables on one level, my meat on another,
okay,
all the savory, like there's 2 competing ones, and I was just literally, it's on my list of things to do this week. Compare these 2, because if you tell me I can set something and forget it and then have a good meal at the end of the night, you've convinced me. And I know already, like this is the internet telling me to buy this thing.
Absolutely. And y'all, we absolutely will have one of these podcasts because one of the life hacks I just learned, and I'm sure y'all already know this, which is when you want to buy something, go to the website, put it in the cart, and then close the browser and just keep moving on. And 2 days later, you will get a damn coupon for money off. And discounts. I shit you not. Yeah. There are algorithms that see what you put in the cart and how long it sits there, and they want to pull you back, and they will straight up give you money back or, discounts, all sorts of stuff. So there's your life hack for today, because we're going into the holiday season, y'all, and you need to have a little bit of money to save and so you can spend on the things that matter. And so today we're talking about holiday stress. As always, the break room is all about the Black mental health experience at work, but we're going to extend it out to the family because some of y'all are going to be taking your PTO and going out on holidays, and we want you to do that. And so managing those relationships when you're at home is what we're talking about today. And so, yeah, I've been looking for this topic, forward to this topic since we launched season 2, because so I'm one Black person. I have my Black lived experience, but I do not have the experience of Dr. Nikki and Dr. Jide. And so one of my first questions I always want to hear from other Black folks is, how do y'all decide who's cooking, who's paying, how do y'all's family arrange the gatherings? And so let's start with Dr. Jide. How do y'all do it?
We were talking about this beforehand. So typically what happens is, our family, and I'm thinking my family of origin right now, not necessarily my wife and my kids, but my parents and, my sister. So, holidays is about being together, so that's really what it's about. I won't say we necessarily have like traditions, but we're together, and usually like my mom will like grill, so typically what happens is,
that's what I said, Dr. Nikki.
What's your more? What's up?
Barbecue is always good. You got barbecue on Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying? You always can.
You're blowing so many things up right now. Just the one little thing, like your mom is grilling, not your dad, and it's grilling on Thanksgiving,
and not baking,
and not baking. Yeah. No, my mom handles the cooking, and we do whatever the hell she tells us to do. That's really it. I need you to go to the store to get some lemons. I need you to go buy the seasonings. I need you to go to the chicken. I need you to go to Sam's to get this. I need you to do this. I need you to take out the trash. She's the chef, and every other person in the house, from the ages of my dad, who's older than her, to my son, who's 3, are sous chefs. You know what I'm saying? Like anything she needs. So that's kind of how we do it. Yeah. How about you, Dr. Nikki?
Oh my God, my family. I love my family. I do. But we have the same menu every year. It's been I'm 47. I'm going to fully own that. I'm 47, and my whole life we've had the same menu for Christmas and Thanksgiving. And I'm like, it's 4 weeks in between, and we already know what it is. So, and then the matriarchs do the cooking. So it used to be my grandmother, my aunt, and my mom. And then my grandmother passed away going on 5 years ago now. Oh, last month was 5 years. And so then it fell to my mom and my aunt. So then there was more equitable distribution between those two. And then my cousin who's my elder cousin, she's sort of like notoriously known for not being able to cook. And so she's been on roll duty her entire life. I want you to know she's 62 at this point, but all she gets, she's a grown woman, but she gets rolls. That's it. Like
rolls are important. Don't forget the rolls.
Listen, we could get into this a little bit later. I know it's on the agenda, but I actually had a falling out with one of my other cousins because I sent her to the store to get additional rolls, and I didn't handle the protocol properly, and there was a whole Thanksgiving driveway situation that happened. But so that's it, and like really, probably close to 10 years ago, maybe something about me becoming a mom. Let them add a vegetable. Like let them see me as someone enough to add a vegetable. Mm-hmm. So we have our standard menu, and then I have added like either a Brussels sprout or squash or something like that. And
how is that received?
Shittily, like it's the entire, standard menu, and then my little stuff in one little bowl. And they be like, "Oh, well, Nicole, what you got in there? Oh, I might have one. They don't look too bad."
Wait, they call you Nicole? They don't call you Nikki?
I have like 12 nicknames actually, and I was in the moment selective about which one I shared with you all. I refuse to incriminate myself in this platform. So yes. That is it, and there's no deviation. There's no deviation. And here's the other. This is what I find interesting. Like basic supply and demand every year for 47 years. Every year we run out of mac and cheese. Why don't we make a double pan of mac and cheese? That's going to be too much. No, but every year we run out. It drives me nuts.
That is so funny. Well, because it's really interesting how habits work. So habits are basically kind of like your brain's shortcut, because sometimes your brain gets a little bit lazy and doesn't like to think.
Mm-hmm. And like a good old heuristic.
Oh, yes. Heuristic.
And we still need to hear your family's traditions.
Oh, yeah.
We're not going to let that ride.
Yeah. One of the interesting parts is when I get back with my family, and as we get older, it's a little bit better. But when I get back with my family, I become the twin, right? So I have a twin. We're not identical. He's like 3 inches taller and 20 pounds bigger than I am. And when I come home, I'm the quiet twin because growing up, I didn't say anything, and so. For me, family gatherings, especially back in East Texas, are very, very stressful because I can't be who I am because I'm the twin. And then to your point, Dr. Nikki, I hate when people tell me to go to the damn store. I'm like, you mofos should have planned this shit before I got home. I just drove 3 hours. I'm not going to the store the day before Thanksgiving or the day before Christmas. Screw that shit. So our traditions, we basically do the same thing. We always, my mama used to make, she learned that she was bad at making turkey. And so she would instead do hen and dressing. So we always had dressing.
Turkey's not good.
Yeah, turkey is bad, y'all.
Turkey's overrated. Sorry, I just had to say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do ham. We do greens, sweet potatoes, sweet potato pie, and pecan pie. And then Mama would make that ambrosia salad nonsense, like like marshmallows and shit in
marshmallows and raisins and mandarin oranges.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've never heard of this.
What? Oh, we don't do it, but the reason why I know is because my mom's best friend makes it, and every year there's a conversation. My cousin that's on roll duty also gets her ambrosia, and every year it's a conversation. Did Mary bring my ambrosia yet? Hold on, let me call her. Mary Bond said you got her ambrosia. Like I could script it.
I've never heard of this before.
And that leads me to the actually, that's going to be in the next podcast, y'all. So we're going to talk a little bit more about food in the next podcast. I promise you, we won't forget. But one of the things we want to talk about is how do you manage those relationships? And so, how do you manage the parent relationship? So what do you do when your parents or whoever the elder is like, hey, I need you to run outside. I need you to run to the store. Hey, go watch the kids. Set up the table. Wash the dishes. Because everybody listening to this podcast is probably grown ass people, right? So how do you manage your responsibilities to your family? And let's go, Dr. Nikki, what do you think?
Yeah, it's fascinating listening to you being the quiet twin. One, I can't see it, but two,
Yeah.
At all.
I can't see it. But that brings me to the point of like how we follow. Like, it doesn't matter how old I am. I'm still my mother's daughter, and like there's something about going back home, and I wonder how much like similarity there is for folks like us who maybe went away for college or graduate school, right? You have these whole other experiences that you've had where people experience you as a full grown adult, a competent person, like they trust you to make decisions. I say all the time, I have a mortgage, school loans, a deed, like I'm established, and yet when I go home,
Your baby. Don't matter.
I'm still Nicole. Like I'm still just like, and I'm like, do y'all know I'm grown. I have a whole child myself.
Yeah.
And so there is a sense of frustration. I think what happened for me is I've reached some point where I just sort of like acquiesced to it. And I was like, I could be bothered by this, or I can just accept that this really is bigger than me, right? That in my, sense of wanting to be respectful and really sort of think about like elder dynamics in a healthy, I want to talk about this in a healthy, non-traumatic, loving context, that it feeds something for them that their children are coming home for the holiday. And if we try to buck up against that, it actually takes real joy away from them. Like, this is something that a way that they provide care and loving to their children. And I think it's also like a point of pride, like, oh, our children live in all these places or have done these things and they come home. And so I just like, okay, yes, ma'am. No. Okay. All right. I need to go to Walmart again. Okay. I just go, Brian. I just go, and I drink a lot of wine, and I know we're going to talk about that on the other side, but I drink a lot of wine when I'm at home.
Amen. Dr. Jide, what about you? How do you manage that dynamic with your elders?
So I am also the baby. You know what I'm saying? I'm the youngest. On top of that, I have 3 older sisters, and both of my parents, and I'm the youngest, so it is also different, right? Because I come into the house and like, I'm the baby, right? Of the adults, I'm the baby. So it's so weird. I think when I was younger, I used to be like, man, why are you making me go to Walmart again? Why are you making me go to the grocery store again? Why are you making me do all this stuff, right? But now after having my own children, I'm realizing how much work goes into like planning this whole day. You know what I'm saying? Like, am I really about to complain about going to get some lemons right now? Am I really about to do that? You know what I'm saying? Or am I going to say, yes, man? Like, it doesn't matter if the timing is bad. Like, it doesn't matter, whatever. Let me just go get it because I now, on the other side, as a parent, as a grown-up who has to cook and, do all these things. Oh, God. You really were asking for the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Really asking for nothing right now, so, let me do that. So that's kind of how I handle it for my parents, at least. Like, listen,
that's awesome.
Sous chef, anything you say, yes, chef.
That's wonderful. And one of the great things about the break room is that we try to teach y'all some of the psychological theories behind things. And so I'm actually going to push this over to Dr. Nikki, and then I can bastardize it. But if you had to define the psychological theory of dynamics in relationships or interpersonal relationship, before we move on to talking about how we interact with our siblings, because it's a different type of relationship than our parents. How do you define kind of dynamics in interpersonal relationships?
So, well, for this context, I rely on like just family system, right? Family systems theory is this so family system theory in short, is this idea that every family is a system. It's a mini organization. It's a little society in and of itself. And very early on, people learn which role they will play. And everybody needs to play that particular role in order to keep the system balanced. Even if that means a lot of foolery or there's stress on some parts of the system. If somebody is like relentlessly responsible, if someone is relentlessly irresponsible, right? The idea is that everybody is functioning within this system to keep it going. And that means you have a part that you're playing, whether you realize it or not. And the dynamic part of it is people inherently, so I shouldn't say inherently, unconsciously, you fall into these roles. And so, so for instance, I'll talk very specifically about my family, right? I have this role of sort of being the more outspoken one. Surprise, surprise. Right. And so now the system sort of relies on me. If somebody's going to say something about something, everybody's looking for me. Well, I was waiting on you to say it. Well, why? Because that's the dynamic, right? And so then there's somebody else that's going to jump in. And yeah, I saw it too. And right? That is what happens. And there's this other concept called entrainment. I pulled this from group theory. And entrainment is that once a system or organism sort of identifies its roles, there's like this automatic energy to pull the system to continue to function in that way. And so it doesn't matter if you go home once a year. Once you go back home, it is a whole cascade of things that get kicked off when you're in grandma's kitchen or your whatever.
Yep.
And you automatically drop back into that nostalgia, that sense of feeling. You might hear yourself saying things that you're like, wait, I had practiced with my therapist that I wasn't going to do that no more. But now here I am.
Yep.
And I think that's the perfect segue. So managing your relationships with your siblings. And so I'll go first. One of the things that I do, and I have 3 brothers and 1 sister, and I'm the baby, just like you, Jide. And one thing that I learned, so when I was younger and a lot poorer, it always stressed me the fuck out to worry about where the food was going to be coming from, because we just didn't have a lot of money. And so when I kind of made a promise to myself that when I got older and we had our family gatherings, I would just pay for everything, because it makes it a lot easier. And it takes a lot of the stress off of my siblings, because I never wanted my mom to be, we would all come home from college and other places, and I would straight up put it on my credit card, so that, and mama was really good at stretching everything, right? So she could take that chicken and turn it into like 12 different things. But yeah, so managing siblings can be very complicated. And for me, I've tried to make it easier by preemptively just taking out the financial stress of the holidays. Now, I wouldn't buy nobody's presents. I'm just saying, when it came to food, I would just take care of all the food stuff. So, Jide, what would you do to kind of manage any stressors or things between you and your sisters?
Families. One thing for sure, families are going to have drama. That is a fact of life. There is no family that y'all just have a good time every single day and everybody's happy all the time and nobody ever argues and nobody ever does the wrong thing to anybody else and everybody always takes accountability, and you know what I'm saying? Like that just doesn't exist, So, for our family, we're no different. We be fighting, you know what I'm saying? My parents get on my nerves, my sister get on my nerves, I get on people's nerves, like that's just how we do it,
I love it.
I think it's hard, it is very difficult, because of the dynamic. The way you described that, Dr. Nikki, was just so chef's kiss, like perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like that is what it is. You get back in there, all the skills you learned in therapy, okay, gone. All right? They're gone, right? Because nobody can trigger you like the people who spent the most time with you. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody in the world. So, I think it's just all about good faith engagement. You know what I'm saying? And I know in a little bit we'll talk about kind of handling difficult family members, but, for me it's just good faith engagement. Whatever drama y'all had, let it be done at this holiday. You know what I'm saying? Like this is Thanksgiving. This is time that we don't have work and we could be family. Whatever it was, let's move past it.
I love it.
Yeah. How about you, Dr. Nikki?
I like it. Only child here. Only child. Raising an only child. And it is blissful.
I did not know you were an only child.
When I was younger, I used to want siblings really bad. Oh, yes. Yep. Only child. And I I don't mean to sound psychotic or anything like that, but I fully don't understand sibling relationships. Like, I'm always like, is this normal? And people are like, yes. And I'm like, it feels like unhealthy. And they're like, this is normal. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. So I can talk about being an only child, which is its own weird sort of.
Yeah, go for it, because we have listeners that are only children. So
Yeah, that's right.
The thing about being an only child is I think the dynamics between the parent and the only child get exacerbated because there is no other buffer. There is no other person to divert attention to. You just get all of it. And so it's just it. And then, particularly in my, context, the vast majority of my life, my parents got separated when I was I think 10. They were divorced by the time I was 12. So I've been raised by a single woman, parent my entire life. And then now I'm a single parent of a daughter. And so the three of us together, I don't advise it. It's a lot. I think there's just a different level of intensity because all of the love, and compassion and energy and expectation and frustration, annoyance, it just gets locked in like a 2-person dynamic. And sometimes that can just be a little bit overwhelming. And then I think as I get older too, the one thing I do sort of envy about folks that have siblings is when your parents get old and they need more support or more care, whether you do that through, outsourcing that, there's shared pay for, or cost associated with that. And then you're not the only one making decisions about someone else's, life. Unfortunately, I've been in the position where my mother has had 2 major health scares. And that's a lot of pressure, to just be like, I have to decide what's happening here. And then on the lighter side, this whole idea of I can promise you, I was literally in my 40s when I met other people that just said, I don't go home for Thanksgiving. I'd be like, say what now? Yeah. They're like, no, I'm going to the Bahamas for Christmas. How you do that? Because as an only black child, if you don't bring yourself home, I might as well have cussed my mama out. Literally, I might as well have just said, you are worthless to me. Yeah. There's nobody to hide behind. I'm so serious. Yeah. I have stayed home 2 Christmases. One when my baby was first born because she was a preemie and I got a pass for that. And then this last one for COVID. And that was it. Yeah. Other than that, they looking for me. Yeah. What time you gonna be here?
Well, so then that brings us to the cousins, because I know you got cousins, right?
Oh, I have all the cousins.
Okay, because you have the cousins that say, we don't see you enough, you don't call me enough. You have the cousin that say, hey, lend me $20. You have the cousin that gets drunk. You have so how do you manage the cousin dynamic when you're at the holiday festival?
And in my family, some of those cousins are all one person.
They're not mutually exclusive cousins.
They're not separate cousins.
The money cousin and the you don't call cousin is the same cousin. Yeah. And it's that's what I don't call. You know what I'm saying?
Because I know you go want to hold something. Let me hold something, cuz.
Exactly.
Oh my God. And the big thing in my family is, hey, doc. And some of my elder male family members would be like, can you get me a prescription for Viagra? Ew, gross. Yeah. Number 1. 2, no, I'm not that kind of doctor. Well, what good are you? People find me to be a very valuable contributor to a lot of things. So my situation, even with cousins, is interesting. Y'all are the baby. I'm kind of a weird middle generation. So my cousins that I'm closest to, they're 10 to 14 years my elder.
Gotcha.
And then the other ones that are younger than me are about 10 to 12 years my junior. So I was kind of like a lone ranger for a long time. And so I think that has actually helped kind of buffer me some of the crazy of the craziest. But I find my cousins wholly entertaining. I just, so many different ways you could choose to live your life. And I get a little snapshot of them when I go home for the holidays. Yeah.
I love it. What about you, Dr. Jide? How do you manage your cuz?
For me, historically, since adulthood, I have not lived near my family. You know what I'm saying? And most of my cousins, actually literally my mom's brother, sister don't live in the United States. So it's mostly second cousins or kind of more distant cousins. So most of my experience with those kind of cousins and whatnot is very kid based, you know, and we're going to talk about that next, right? But, you know, kids is, there's grown-ups. You should not be near the grown-ups, okay? Don't get in their conversation. None of that stuff, you know? So, you know, just growing up, it was go outside, play football, play basketball, play video games, eat some food, you know, somebody's going to inevitably end up crying, right? But that's mostly like my kind of understanding of what cousins are supposed to do. Y'all supposed to chill. You know, you're supposed to have a good time and it's not supposed to be no drama. Yeah. So how about you?
Yeah, so it's really weird. So, and I like my cousins, but it's weird to see them as adults because, it's just, it feels like I'm seeing them out of context, like they are seeing me out of context. And so, it's very strange, because they're kind of like siblings. So you grew up with them and they're also kind of like friends, because they're not your siblings. And it can get really kind of awkward because some of my cousins will be like, hey, you're a psychiatrist. Oh, let me tell you about X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, y'all, I mean, like if
I'm not your psychiatrist.
Correct. And yes.
Right. Just like at the break room. We're mental health professionals. We're not your mental health professionals.
Boom. Amen. And it's just, it's so kind of just awkward. And so what I try to do to preemptively decrease my anxiety because it makes me anxious when I'm hearing from my cousins and they're sharing all this stuff is I kind of go overboard and I redirect and do a lot of small talk. So, so cousins are very interesting. And then, I don't give no money to anybody. I learned that a long time ago. I just say, sorry, cuz I can't help you out. Here's some resources. See ya. Right. So
here's some resources.
Yeah. And now we get to
my Zelle ain't one of them.
Exactly. No Venmo for you. Okay. So now when it comes to kids, so I don't have any children, so I'm totally going to throw this back to y'all. So how do you manage your relationship with your kids during that holiday time? Because there's always an auntie or an uncle who's seeing your kid and being like, they need to sit their ass down or you need to do blah. So what do y'all do when people are telling your kids what to do? How do you manage the kids being underfoot? Jide, let's start with you.
So with regards to kids, one, I don't have my kids around adults that I don't trust at all. You know what I'm saying?
But
so generally, I'm saying, but just in general, so in terms of like, whether people to discipline my kids, the only people I allow around my children at all, period, are people who I feel comfortable enough to be the ones to say, Jide, you need to sit down. You know what I'm saying? And Kunle, you need to go use the bathroom. You need to do X, Y, Z. So, start in there. And my big thing with kids and adults are not meant to be together. That's like one of my firm beliefs that I had. Like, you should be with your parents, you know what I'm saying? And your teacher and your coaches. But outside of those spaces, kids with kids, grown-ups with grown-ups. You know what I'm saying? And even kids with similarly aged kids. Like, I don't even know how I feel about the 17-year-old with the, you know what I'm saying? So just in general. But you just have to, you have to be, the important thing is, the good thing about holidays is the kids are together. The older kids kind of watch them. Other adults, they're kind of together and they kind of have a semi-eye on them, so you don't always have to step in, but sometimes you do have to step in because you're the adult with the eyes at the time. And it's really complicated, trying to manage all these things. But
it is.
Most and foremost, let the kids be with the kids, and whatever little dramas, whatever, they'll figure it out. Yeah.
So it's interesting because my daughter is a little bit, only single parent, only child. Single parent, only child. So we got some weird stuff going on. And then my generational thing, we got some just weird external contributing factors. And my daughter, like no over boasting or arrogance, but she just is sort of she's a magnet, a light. And so when she comes into the space, everybody wants to hear about what's going on with her. What is she doing? And so it's a time off for me, honestly. I'm like, yes, go impress all the other people. And I have like one cousin that has a daughter her age, but they only see each other like that once a year. Cause it's a whole thing, maybe twice a year, right? With Thanksgiving and Christmas. But there's a whole thing where like, she goes to her dad's for one of the holidays because there's a shared custody sort of situation. And so they get to see each other for like a couple hours. So my daughter actually ends up spending a lot of time with the younger. I kind of just breeze through the room, like I just have a regular little pad, like, what y'all got going on? Okay, all right. What y'all got going on? Okay, all right. Come up out of there. Come on up out of there. Come, let me look at you. So, but gift giving with kids is a whole, I think we probably even need a whole podcast just about
I agree. We totally can do that.
Cause that is a whole nother, all the dynamics of all the things coming together. So yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, now that we have thought of it, we are totally going to do a podcast on gift giving. So, so before we get to the tea for this episode,
and office gift giving too, because that's a whole other foolishness.
Yes, child. Yes. And so, so,
and let me just make one other comment before we go into what are you going to say? The last nerve, right?
Oh, no, we're going to shift into what to do with the kind of toxic relationships or with the stressful relationships. So what are some concrete things that our listeners can leave with to manage those things during the holiday season? But did you want to add something before?
I wanted to add to so I know we're sort of talking about all of these non-work contexts, but a realization, right, just to acknowledge, for a lot of Black folks, we still live in sort of this bicultural social context, right? So this whole conversation that I feel like we've had is maybe pretty universal, but also pretty culturally specific. And so even the things that are on the menu or how the dynamics go, I feel like there may be way more similarity among Black folks across the diaspora than there might be for Black folks that are working in predominantly white spaces or in other spaces. And so just navigating that awkward sort of conversation pre or post holiday about what your family do and, how to get together. There's a lot of expectations around leaning into the mainstream in those conversations. And just to be aware that you don't have to share no more of your business than you feel comfortable. As my co-host and good friend Jide says, is work. Okay, these are your co-workers. Right. These ain't your friends.
That's that. That's that.
So just I sometimes unfortunately think a little bit of internalized racism, and sometimes I have shame or self-censoring around how our cultural traditions are different. And so I want to encourage you not to lean into that, but also to just be okay with saying, it was fine. It was great. I got together with family and just leave it at that. Ate well. It was great.
Yep.
Keep it moving.
Great. And Dr. Jide, so how do you handle that difficult person? Be that your child, be that your family member, be that your coworker. How do you handle that during the holiday?
So, thank you. That's a good point. We all have difficult people in our lives. Sometimes it can, like you said, it could be a parent, it could be a child, it could be a sibling, it could be a friend who comes over every time. It can be you. You know what I mean? You can be the difficult person.
If you don't know who the difficult person is, you are.
It could be you. It very well could be you. So I think it's really, and every person is difficult in their own way too. You know what I'm saying? So it's really hard. But one thing that's so important for particularly handling difficult people, but also just in your life, and Dr. Nikki will expand upon this: boundaries. Okay, you have to know your boundaries going into certain situations that are going to be toxic, and you have to hold firm to them, and you have to know that you don't have to explain your boundaries to anybody, right? So Dr. Nikki, go ahead.
Yes, difficult family members. And I love how Jide sort of normalized it earlier by saying the likelihood that you're going to have family and never get into an argument or not have people get on your nerves, that's very inevitable, or low likelihood that that's true, right? But I want to sort of distinguish that and talk about that there may be family members who are particularly toxic. And so I could think about there being traumatic experiences around alcohol or substance abuse, around violence, around just sexual exploitation or discomfort. These are all very real things that reside in families, and we don't like to talk about them, but they're real. And so I think to the extent that you're aware that there are going to be folks in the environment that trigger you, right, that make you feel a sense of disconnected from your body or feel a sense of being out of control. That's how I would describe being triggered, right? Where you feel like you're not yourself. You're pulled out of who you typically are. Doing some before work for yourself is critically important. And what I will also tell clients sometimes is get you a buddy. Right? Find that other trusted person. They don't even need to know all the details, but tell them early on, hey, cuz, or hey, sis, Uncle such and such, we still have that beef with cousin blah, 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 right? If you see them coming near me, help me out, right? Either redirect them or move me or just whisper in my ear, or let's go make a run, right? So you don't have to engage it at all. Like that for me is a primary boundary, is you were so far out of my context that I don't even engage you. And if they're persistent, and I know oftentimes, especially in Black families, when there are secrets and people like to sort of make things look really good on the outside,
brush it under the rug
and not deal with the underbelly and brush it under the rug, right? There could be a lot of sort of emotional manipulation around, you overreacting or what. Don't be that way. Just go ahead and talk to them, and it ain't got to be like this, right? Very clear to say, I'm not interested in that conversation. I'm going to keep to myself, and I want to enjoy my time, but that has nothing to do with me and them, right? Boundaries, the easiest way and the most effective way to draw boundaries is just to state what the need is and leave it at that. You don't need explanation. You don't need justification. You don't need a thesis. I don't fool with him, period. That's it. Like, and what I always say is people love boundaries until they're on the other side of them.
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe people love boundaries until you are on the other side of that fence trying to look over. Like, wait, what? I'm on the other side. And so the other thing for you listeners, if that's something you need to do, is to be prepared that even though you set the boundary, it will be tested.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I like to help people reframe it and say, this is really a demonstration of self-care and worth when you reassert that boundary. And also you don't have to add to it. Just be that broken record. No, I'm not interested.
Yep.
No, I don't want to. I'm not sitting over there.
Yep.
Just broken record. That's it.
I love that line. That does not interest me. And you just walk away. Amen. Yep. Preach. Well, so as you can tell, there's a whole lot of other stressors and dynamics that come up with managing your Black family during the holidays, especially the holidays where there's a COVID outbreak and booster shots and masks and all sorts of stuff. And so everybody here at the break room just wants you to be safe and have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Give some time and some space to those people that you love, to the people that you have lost, and those special folks around you. So before we sign off for this podcast, we want to give some time for the last nerve, the last one. I think Dr. Jide gets it today. Oh, let me get we always try to keep a timer. So let me get the timer.
I'm ready.
But y'all I wish y'all could see. Dr. Jide doing his like Rocky Balboa, whatever, trees, like get ready, he warming up. He ready to like say some stuff.
All right, sir, we got 2 minutes on the clock. The time is yours. Go for it.
Thank you. Okay, so the last nerve for today. So at the time of recording this, okay, in the National Basketball Association, also known as the NBA, there are many different basketball players, okay, and over 90% of them are vaccinated. Okay, so that's a really good thing because it's a requirement to be on the team, be in buildings, play in these sports units. Okay, but there are some prominent NBAers who make millions of dollars, to be clear, okay, who make millions of dollars, who are deciding that this is unjust and they're going to take a stand because their body, their choice, okay, about vaccinations for a disease that has killed 700,000 Americans. Not in the world. 700,000 people who live next door to us. You know what I'm saying?
On the record.
On the record.
700,000.
700,000, okay? But, specifically Kyrie Irving, great basketball player. All of them are great. They're in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? Kyrie Irving, Brooklyn Nets, missed his media day because he's not vaccinated and he wasn't allowed in the building. And then there's Bradley Beal, who's an NBA player for the Washington Wizards, who had coronavirus. Okay, he missed the Olympics this summer because he had coronavirus. And he did an interview, and they asked him about being vaccinated. He was like, "No, I'm not vaccinated. I didn't even really get sick. I just lost my taste and smell."
That's getting sick.
Sir!
Yeah.
Those are primary COVID symptoms, sir. If you tested positive, you had the novel SARS-CoV-10 or 2.
Okay.
Is it 2? COVID-2?
Mhm.
You had it.
Sirs. You know what I'm saying? And then there's Andrew Wiggins, who plays for the Golden State Warriors, who recently today it came out that after all the pressure, he did decide to get his vaccination. So, I'm not even going to rip him because you know what? You did the right thing. So you let me do the right thing. But it's just frustrating because they're getting endorsed by a lot of the people who told them shut up and dribble when they wanted to be activists, right? And now they're saying, yeah, look at you, your body, your choice. And you're endorsing that and listening to that, right? But you have responsibility. So you know what I'm saying? You have this platform. You have responsibilities to be educated and spout the right information. Okay. If you're going to spout vaccine disinformation, right, or say silly stuff, I don't want to say shut up and dribble, but it's better if you stay quiet.
Boom. And that is your last nerve today. We really appreciate
with candy sponsored by.
I love it.
Apologies, everyone.
I love it. So if y'all haven't noticed, we are a family at the break room, and we are glad that y'all are our family. So please hit subscribe on any of your favorite podcast platforms. Please share with the family. Hey, maybe even listen to one of our podcasts with the family over the break so that you can see that we love y'all as much as we love one another. So y'all stay safe, and we will see y'all on the next podcast. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.